Good morning to everybody in Los Angeles and on the West Coast, and good afternoon to everybody on the East Coast, and good evening to everybody here in Europe. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. It's so miraculous that this can actually happen, right? Here I am, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 miles away or more, giving a talk here at our little mountain Zendo in Austria. And I just want to thank you all for the invitation. And I'm always amazed when these things start, how powerful they are. You know, somehow the energy gets through. I don't know how, but it really feels like we've got some juice going. So I hope you're experiencing something similar. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the basics of what Joshu Sasaki Roshi would always pound into our heads. Kyozan Joshu Roshi had a wonderful way of teaching that I find I've studied with other Roshis, and I've never found anybody that would that taught in the way that he did with this. He had, I don't want to call it philosophical, but it was an explanation of the activity of Dharma that I think is quite unique to his teaching and his tradition. And it's something that I hope that we can in some way continue to pass on to the people that are still sitting with us, and the new people that are coming to sit with us, because it's helpful. It's another tool. I always like to say, though, that it is just that. It's not the manifestation of it, and you can really trip yourself up when you think that, when you try to intellectualize it too much, and it's a mistake to think that real Zen can't be practiced or taught without using this particular approach, because it can, absolutely, in a wonderful, classical and completely full way. But we happen to have this little extra dimension to what was passed on to us to some degree. Of course, I'm not a Roshi, I'm just an Oshō, and doing the best I can until somebody better comes along. But I wanted to take just 2 sentences out of Roshi's book, first book, called About Tathagata Zen. And maybe some of you have picked it up, but it's very dense. And yet we've found in these discussion groups amongst longtime students of Roshi that we can find we can really have wonderful discussions about it, because we all know the basics, and then we can argue about the fine points for what that's worth. But I wanted to just introduce the most basic approach, the basic tenets of Roshi's teaching out of this book. So I'm just going to take 2 sentences, and I'm not sure I found it put any other way in any other book, because this is page 17 from About Tathagata Zen. That's the name of the book. And it starts, "What is Zen?" And then he actually gives an answer. Where do you find that? Zen is the manifestation of an activity negating the self built on the incomplete functioning of consciousness. So negating the self built on the incomplete functioning of consciousness. We usually shorten that to negating the incomplete self. So what is an incomplete self? Okay, so that's the first sentence. And the second one is, and cultivating the self manifesting a complete function of consciousness. So we want to negate the self, negate the incomplete self, and cultivate the complete self. Negate the incomplete self and cultivate the complete self. Okay, so what does he mean by complete and incomplete self? All right, that's where we start. And this is a basic tenet of Roshi's. So let's just start with the complete self. The complete self can be thought of, the complete functioning of consciousness is how he put it, right? But the complete self is when boundaries are negated. The boundaries between you and I, between what you're doing and what you're doing it to, disappear. And on some level, we have to remember that all boundaries we create with our minds. So somebody comes and knocks me on the back of the head or puts me out for surgery, all the boundaries disappear as far as I'm concerned, right? Zen is all about learning how to manifest the self and not be attached to it. So it's all about your creating the boundaries for your experience. So this idea of the complete self is that aspect of ourself, that dimension to our content, to our consciousness that has no boundaries. We are free from all boundaries. Everything manifesting this one universe. That's the dimension that we usually completely lose sight of in our everyday lives, right? We're just going about doing our stuff, fixing this and fixing that in various ways so that we can get by, or the people we love can get by. But that's all about boundaries. I want to get this, I don't want to get that. We're chased after the things we like, and we run away from the things we don't like. That's the incomplete self. So that's, by incomplete self, it's just the world of boundaries. It's just, and because Roshi says the way the reason he calls it the complete and incomplete self is, of course, it's easy to think about the complete self. Okay, it's complete because there's no boundaries within it, right? But the way his simple model for describing how this self arises, how this incomplete self arises, should be gone over, and that is this boundless state, right? It's never just one nothingness. It's always, it can only express itself minimally as two opposing functions. But when these functions don't touch each other, they have no way to communicate. So if one fist was black and one fist was white, right now they have no way to communicate with each other because they're not overlapping. There's no, this is purely black and this is purely white. And they don't share in each other's content. But another thing that we always learn is that these two are always changing with respect to each other. That's another part of the Dharma activity, constant change. So what happens? They're going to overlap, black and white overlaps, and they're going to make a new condition called gray, right? And that condition shares in both aspects of its source of the complete self. And so it can finally gain a perspective. Oh, that is black and that is white. Okay, this is, and of course we call it incomplete because black has given a little bit of itself to that, given a little bit of self, a complete state. Does that make sense? Not hard. Okay, so here we are in our everyday life. This is the incomplete self, and this is what he's talking about here. So we have to manifestation of an activity negating the self built on an incomplete functioning of consciousness. So we want to negate. How do we negate this self again? It's right. We're born here. We are born into this world. How do we negate it? How do you meditate? That's really the question. How do you lose yourself in meditation? Well, the idea is that we willingly, we are the thing that's separating black and white, right? It's only that gray. And so once we're born, Roshi would say that when we're completely matured as a self, black has given all itself to us and white has given all itself to us. And then there's only us. We're at our maximum power. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold on to it all? I'm not giving nothing back. No. What we have to do is to willingly give back half of ourselves to the black and to the white, where we got it from. So we have to willingly participate in our own demise, or I should say in the demise of our own awareness, our own experience of selfhood. Of course, nobody's asking anybody to die literally, of course not. But this aspect of ourself where we're self-conscious of what we're doing, of all the boundaries that we're creating, that's what we need to let go of, right? So how do we do that? So the idea is that by giving the self away, what we do is we give to let's just say that black and white in a three-dimensional, in us, we could say inside and outside, right? We have an inside and we look inside, and that's a completely unique part of ourselves. And then outside, everybody's got their own outside, and everybody's got their own unique inside. And the interaction of those two is what gives rise to our awareness. This is how we're able to stay alive, by our bodies and surroundings interacting. So what we have, but normally we're stuck in our heads. We're always, oh, me, oh, my body, oh, the surroundings, whatever. And we don't find any peace. We're trapped in the world of diversity. We're trapped in the world of self-awareness. So quite simply, the idea is that the self negates itself so that inside and outside come together again without any space in between them. And remember, that space between them is us. That's our self-awareness. So that it's so simple. It's what we do whenever we connect, whenever we do our favorite thing, right? We lose ourselves in the taste of that ice cream. We lose ourselves in our favorite book. We lose ourselves hugging our favorite person. So, and just for a second, we're free in that connection. We lose, all the boundaries are let go. We don't have to worry about anything because we're completely embracing, inside and outside are embracing each other somehow, right? That's negating the self. That's negating the incomplete self. But of course, that self doesn't stay negated, right? So you could think of it as time. Every moment has a birth, a life, and a death, right? So what we normally do is we just want to go from life of this moment to life of this moment to life of this moment. And we have this continuous experience of, oh, I'm existing through time. Things are changing around me, but I'm not changing. And that's a problem because you are changing. We are living and dying with every single moment, right? Every moment has a birth and a death. Where's the moment that was here 2 seconds ago? Completely gone, right? And yet we have this feeling of, oh, no, I was here, yeah. But in fact, if we just take that mindset, we cause suffering because it completely negates half of our content, half of the self, the complete self. That's the self that everything is founded on. There is no incomplete self without this complete self to be there, to overlap, to interact. That's why that's why it's so important to be able to come into contact and be able to find that part of ourselves that we think is lost. You know, that we're because it's there's a very famous Zen image of a board carrying fellow. So somebody who's walking with a board on their shoulder and they only see half the world, right? They're missing this whole other half of themselves. Oh, I don't want to die into the moment. No, I'm having too much fun. And so what happens is when we have that attitude, this is the essence of attachment, because we think we depend on stuff, on getting the stuff we like and not getting the stuff we don't want, right? Running away from stuff we don't like and chasing after the stuff we like. This is where attachment comes from. And the whole thing is a mistake because there's nothing really to attach to, because whatever we were given comes anyway. And when we completely give ourselves, to give it back, we completely dissolve ourselves so that whatever we're doing, we lose ourselves in whatever we're doing, the thing gets done better than ever we could have done with thinking all the time. So and then what happens if we do that? We completely lose ourselves in what we're doing, and then everybody loves it. Where did that come from? That was a masterpiece. How did you do that? Well, I just tried my best. Even though I just threw caution to the wind and tried my best, no matter what, I ignored all the thoughts, and I just brought me into this action, me and this thing together, right? So the world blossoms into an infinity of things, right? That's the life active. That's diversity. That's the incomplete consciousness. And that's an amazing thing. All we have to do to manifest the complete consciousness is to shrink it down to just you and some task, whatever it is, right? So we shrink everything down to its simplest opposites again, and then we completely negate the self completely. And so it's just, man and woman have found each other again. Black and white are back resting in their home, yeah? And they're ready to start all over again, right? Because they never stop. And then, so what we experience is this part of ourselves that is complete. So what does he say here? Cultivating the self, manifesting a complete functioning of consciousness, right? So that's hopefully what what's coming out, at least in some bit of clarity. So by negating the incomplete self, we cultivate this complete self, right? And we find our home. We find that which we thought we lost forever, that which we think we can find by chasing after the things we like, right? Oh, I'm only happy when I have a salami sandwich, and then but if you keep eating salami sandwiches, you're going to get sick. It's not about salami sandwiches. It's about your connection to them that you can make, but you can't keep doing this. It's not about any one thing. And whatever we attach to, it's wrong. So in the Heart Sutra, what do we have? You may have read the English translation or the German translation. And what do they say? No eyes, no nose, no consciousness, no nothing. No. Don't do it. Give it all away. No conscious, no nothing. So why? Because maybe you could interpret that to some degree in this teaching. Yeah. So no, I'm not going to be attached to any of this. I'm not going to. You have to become like Rumpelstiltskin. What did Rumpelstiltskin do? He took straw and he turned it into gold. Right. So that's what we have to do. Any particular thing, it's just straw. But when we can come together, we can through our care and complete giving of self and unifying inside and outside through our love and attention, we turn that thing into something wonderful, into gold, right? And then that gold shines, and then it's the shining, and then that all turns to straw again, right? And then, oh, there's more straw here. Let's turn that into gold. Right? Rather than chasing after the straw, right? Oh no, I need a bunch of straw. There's nothing like straw to make me happy. Whatever it is, it's straw. It's all straw. And yet, the miracle is that no matter what the straw is, we can turn it into gold, right? And this is our job. What more do you want to do? It's wonderful. But again, in the Heart Sutra, what do they say? No eyes, no nose, no tongue, no all, and that's fine. And then what did they say? All bodhisattvas practice the Prajnaparamita mantra. Saying the Prajnaparamita mantra is it. That's all bodhisattvas do. And if you're not saying the Prajnaparamita mantra, you're not a bodhisattva or a practitioner even. You're not even a practitioner. What the heck is the Prajnaparamita mantra? Are we saying that normally? So I was thinking, what the heck is this Prajnaparamita? Nobody says anything about a Prajnaparamita mantra, right? And then it's at the end, it says, what is the prajna paramita? It says, okay, guys, this is all we have to do. Just practice this, and we'll be saved. And you'll save all beings. And here, okay, you ready? It goes, gyate, gyate, parasam gyate, bodhisavaka, right? Gone, gone, gone to the other shore. That's it. Gone, 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 gone. So maybe, of course, I don't know, but maybe this all ties together. You know, this idea of giving oneself, no matter what it is, gone. Whatever this is, gone. How does it go? Through completely embracing it, through completely bringing it down to its absolute source, your absolute source. That's what we have to find, right? And so whenever you get, counting your breath, whatever, or doing anything, the point is not the breath. Don't get caught up in the posture. Don't get caught up in the breath or the number. You have to use that thing to find the center of the action, right? To create the center of the action, to find, and that center is always silent. You have to, whatever you're doing, you have to create the silence at the heart of it, right? That's the end. That's the death of one moment and the place where the new moment springs forth from, right? And then we just keep our eyes on that, right? And so all we have to do is completely do what we have to do in order to finish the moment to its absolute utter source. And then, boom, the next moment springs forth. It's like you have to just swim to the center of the sun, right? And then you're blown out in another ray of light. And then, oh, got to swim back all the way into the very center of the sun. Who knows what's in the center of the sun, but you go there anyway, right? And you can get there backstroke, Australian crawl, breaststroke, chopping wood, carrying water, whatever you want to do. Just find that center over and over, and we'll always be born again as this ray of light that shines forth, and infinite diversity appears again. And all we have to do is to give it back, is to pick up the mess and put it back in its place, and then we get a new moment, right? So this is why so he says, all we have to do, so that's given to us. Nobody asks to be born moment after moment. The moment arises. All we have to do is to use it. We have to use it in order to find its source and use it to its absolute source, to the end of the moment. And then we experience, that's the only way you can experience the birth of the next moment, is by finding the place where the last moment dies. That makes sense, right? So that's what we have to do, moment after moment after moment. So are you doing that? Are you able to find silence with your posture, right? Or when you're counting out. So when you're counting out one, you're not counting out one. You're using one to create, to find this experience of total silence. How do you find silence while you're making inner noise, right? How do you find stillness when you're raking the leaves, right? This is all paradox. It's very hard to get at with language, but you know, once you get the rhythm of the logic, it all makes sense, right? So this was the essence of, you know, and Roshi went on and on about talking about more of the details of the functioning of consciousness, how the self and the incomplete self and the complete self related to each other and stuff. It's an amazing book, and we have a new one that's being published soon, worked on by Kendo Hal Roth, and I urge you all to get a copy. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. So just to finish up, I want to give you all a little exercise. So I know that a lot of people have trouble getting, like, they have just a couple of minutes of silence in their zazen, maybe in a whole period or in a whole day. That's not good enough. And I don't mean that critically. I mean, I know everybody can do way better than that. Your sitting should be silent as the grave, right? And so in our tradition, we don't sit there and watch thoughts arising and watch them pass away, or let them come and let them go. We're too busy giving the self away to be bothered watching anything else. Who's watching them, right? It's got to be a self. Who's not touching anything? It's got to be a self. So our technique is to completely vanish into what we're doing, whether you're working on a koan or working on your breath or doing kinhin, or chopping vegetables. We're not thinking about something else or trying to keep our mind clear, trying not to attach. No, just the opposite. We're just completely negating whatever any thoughts at all through the connection we're making. As I said, it's a simplification. We bring everything down to just two things, inside and outside, and the self bringing them together, and then you completely lose the self in that, right? So it makes a lot of sense. So the little exercise I want to do is it'll give you something a little bit more tangible to do. So rather than to watch or to be so passive, this is a little bit more active. So imagine you've all seen like on a mix master or maybe some electric machine. There's a reset button, right? There's a little tiny thing, white or red, whatever, and it's got a little spring in it, right? And you push it down, right? And then the minute you let go, and that'll reset it, but you push it down, you hold it down, right? Because if you let go, then it's going to pop up again. Simple, right? Everybody's seen, got a little metal ring little metal collar around it. Everybody's seen them. Okay, so imagine this little button on the floor, right? And then, you could feel what it's like to take your finger and hold it down. Now, just to hold it down, you have to be consciously holding it down in this exercise. You have to actually be putting your mind to it, and then just count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, do it 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you're actually focusing on holding that thing down, there's no thoughts. It's just you're completely engaged in the life and death of that moment. Moment after moment, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, but you completely have to give yourself to the action. Okay, so now, without using your finger, imagine that button, and it's with posture. So nice, clear posture, nice, clear mudra. That's what holds down that button. That's the only thing that's going to hold down that button. So just using your posture, hold down that button for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have to feel what it's like to have that button down, pushed into the floor, and to keep it down into the floor. Let's do another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You see, when you do that exercise, then the distractions that pop, maybe thoughts that pop that are trying to pop into your mind, when they're trying to pop into your mind. And no, you just don't go there, because the minute you go there, your button's going to pop up, right? There's no way when you take your mind off it that it can stay down, right? And so if you just train yourself in that way, it's all the same. So there's that feeling of like, yeah, I've got that thing down, and I know what that's like. It's in my pocket, and I'm going to keep it there, but I have to I have to concentrate on it. Otherwise it's going to shoot up. And once it shoots up, all of the thoughts shoot up, and off you go into some distraction, right? Same thing with it. So there's 2 kinds of distractions on the outside and distractions on the inside. Both of them are not good to indulge in. So, and then once you do that, you can also try it with breath. Or you can try, if you're counting your breath, you can count, and the number is what keeps that button down. Wow. See how long you can keep it down with each number. And yeah, see how that works. So that's really all I had today. I wonder, does anybody have any questions about anything? Nobody ever has questions.
How about perfect and imperfect?
Perfect and imperfect, same, incomplete, perfect self and imperfect self, it's the same.
Sounds a little better than complete and incomplete.
Whatever floats your boat. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, I do urge everybody to pick up that book about the Tathagata Zen, and most especially to check out the new book that's coming. And with that, I think that's a half hour, and we'll move on. So thank you all very much.